Good evening, folks. Welcome to the Big Down. This is your boy Bobby Hill. He's here tonight. I said I was going to give y'all something tonight. Something today. I have been busy today. Me and the family going out of town, taking her to her hometown in the Rio Grande Valley. So been getting busy cleaning up the house because one thing that you hate when you about to travel, it's coming home to a dirty house. So it's been home. Me and the old lady cleaning the house. You know, she asked me to dye her hair, so I help her out with her hair, and that comes from having two sisters and daughters and doing hair and all this. So you know, that show my skills. Skills I've accumulated over a lifetime. You know. I'm saying, just this is the way it is. Just able to do it all. Able to try to. Ain't no correction. I ain't saying I can do it all, but try to learn how to do a lot of things. Don't try to do anything great. Just do a lot of things good. That's all you need. You don't gotta be great at anything. Just do a lot of things good. Sometimes good is all you need. You know, you don't need to be great. Starting out this one, I'd like to give a shout out to my sister in the Dominican Republic right now. Miss Donna Hill. She's there with her boo, Johnny Roberts. It's a great couple. You know, I love her with all my heart. She's like my other mother. I always looked up to her. She's over here enjoying, enjoying vacation. She works hard. She's a registered nurse. She works in the emergency room, so it's a high stressful job, but she getting it. She like doing it. She loves it, and I love her. Thanks for the support. We give a shout out to my man D Whitehead. My man since high school. We went to James Keenan. I went to Clinton. We met. While we was in high school. I always been a good friend. We always kept. We lost contact a little bit, but like a lot of stories. You get up with. Social media has allowed people to stay in contact with each other. We remain good friends. My man Ant Live. It's my man from since we were young. I told him, I told him a story, something that he didn't remember, but I remembered about. I told him, I said, I remember you from when, I think I was in the first grade and he was in second grade, and we went to the school in Clinton called College Street School, and we had like a science fair. And around that time, I think it was around 1980, 81, somewhere like that. And ET was popular, so we was going into the going into the science fair, and and my man Anthony Manning, he was sitting there in the little ET outfit. Hey, I am ET. Welcome to College Street School Science Fair. And he nodded. And every time I brought it up to him, man, he was shocked that I knew it. But I just, I remember that. That's how far we go back. That's my man. Love him. Y'all support. Appreciate it. Like I said, he lost his brother a while ago. And it's hard. He tell me sometimes hard trying to, go from day to day sometimes because that was him and his brothers all he had, man. And they were like my brothers when I was up there in Winston Salem. They looked out for me. We leaned on each other, and it always, always been love there, and always gonna be love there. Chill Will like my brother. Ant is my brother. You know, so give a shout out to him. He has beautiful kids. He got a beautiful family. He has a son now, trying to get him right. He's balling. Trying to get his thing right. He's coming up. I see how excited he is, and I talk to him about his son. Trying to bring his little man up playing basketball, trying to trying to in a way it sounds bad, but it's good, man. Trying to live out your dreams a little bit through your son, man, but not be overbearing. I ain't trying to be like LeVar Ball or nothing like that, or Joe Jackson or something like. But just live out your dream. Teach them the quality that you learned as a young man and as an adult. And just give that knowledge to your kid. And I see him doing that, and I give all respect to him. You know, and he just became a grandfather. My man Trent. I used to call him T. I know when he was little, he getting old, he didn't have a child, he had a little baby, congratulations. Man, became a grandfather, I say congratulations to him for that. We show him love out here in Texas. Yeah, shout out to my man JD, James Dawson, for giving me love, showing support. It's my classmate, known him for a long time. Very intelligent brother. Me and him, one of the most intelligent, melanated men in our class. So, we always bonded over that, play sports together. He's a good guy. My man Jazz, Joe Killett, we stayed in the same neighborhood. He's my classmate. We've been, known him for a long time. I remember we had fourth grade class together. We both stayed right down the street from our school. We had Miss Stewart. She went out to the office one day, and he all of a sudden he was like, man, he just went home for no reason. Just walked out of class. So everybody was like shocked that he done it. So I was just waiting. I was nervous. I was like, man, I don't want him to come back to get in trouble. So I left out too. And I went there. I went and walked home, walked to his house, and went and got him. Like, yo, man, come on back. Stuff like, we came, walked on back. And teacher came back. And most importantly, nobody in our class snakes on us. I give him all due respect for that. Because I thought we were goners. But it didn't happen. So, one of the few, one of the many, great memories that I have in school with friends and everything, So, yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to all those people. I'd like to give a shout out to my man. I just found out, a little while ago, a few years ago, that he was my cousin, Tyrone Morrissey. Give a shout out to my man. I always remember him as he had the little hoopty. He used to call old cars back in the day. He had the yellow car, the banana peel, my man. And it's a funny story how I met him too, and that was crazy. We were in some apartments. This was in, I think it's in like 1992 or 93. We were in some apartments. I think they're called Springwood now, but it used to be Summerwood. And everybody from Clinton, they know Summerwood, they know what I'm talking about. All right, we was in, I was there, visiting, somebody, and he was there visiting somebody's sister. So we were, we were sitting there. I don't want to say too much, just chilling and stuff, man. And all of a sudden, man, we were just sitting there, and a damn roach just, sprinted across the damn field like he was running for his freedom or something, man. And he just stopped in the middle. Stopped. It's like he looked at us and like, what? What you gonna do? And at that moment, I looked up at Dad on Tyrone, and Tyrone looked up at me, and we let out the biggest laugh, man. And from then on, we bonded over a roach. Yeah, I don't know if you remember that or not, but I do remember that. But yeah, that's when, man, holding it down there in Sampson County, doing his thing, hard worker, he works hard, no nonsense, do his thing. Everything he got, he earned it. Respect. Nothing is given, he earned it. So you got to give that, all respect for that. But yeah, like I said, we about to go down about to go down to the valley. That's what they call there's a section of Texas, it's in the south, down close to the border of Mexico. And it's called the Rio Grande Valley. And it consists of different towns. They're close together. Like for a few off the top of my head, Mission, Far, and Far is spelled Phar, Far. Then they got Edinburgh. Then they got Elsa. They got a town named after my sister, Donna, Texas. Hidalgo. They got a lot of places down there. It was very, it's high down there. Don't let people fool you. Don't let the media fool you. It's right there on the border. Since I've been driving trucks, I've been going down to the border since 2015. I've been to San Diego. I've been to Nogales, Arizona. I've been, several I've been to, El Paso, Texas. I've been down to Laredo, Texas, everywhere down the border, and don't let them think that it's just people there trying to knock the border down. And it's like that. There might be certain points where it be like that, but on the most part, there's parts of the those parts of that fence that's open. There's nothing there, open, wide open, nothing. So it ain't like there's. Don't make people think talking about there's the border being overrun and nothing like that, man. That's just political theater and stuff, man. It's not. I'm telling you, live and direct from down from the border. It ain't always like it ain't like you know. Now, don't get me wrong. When you come back up out of the border, now you always have to go through checkpoints, man. And border patrol, it ain't no joke down there. Don't be wrong with them. They will not be playing. They are deep down there. You'll be driving in the middle of the night. You see the border patrol going off in the middle of the desert at night. They done found somebody. They done got them. But yeah, that's what it's like down there. I used to live down there for a year. So it's the border patrol presence is real heavy down there. They don't for the most. I haven't been out since Trump took office for the second time. So I don't know how it is now. I can't honestly tell you how it is now. I'll let y'all know when I get back. Let you know what's going on. But hope for the most part, he's going down there to see family. Her family's down there. You know, I got my stepson. Kevin Zavala. He's going down there to see his family. Very good. Going to see his grandparents, his grandmama, his great grandmama. It's very good. They want to go see him. They want to see him, and hopefully they're doing good. Hopefully everything will turn out good. He's a good kid. He just things happen. How kids are. With the pressure the kids got these days and things that happen. Whatever anxiety and depression and stuff that's going on, man. Kids sometimes struggle dealing with stuff like that. So trying to help them deal with stuff like that. Trying to give my advice and my leadership or knowledge to him. He might not listen to it. He might not listen to it, but if you can take one thing out of it to make his life better, I feel like I did something good. So hopefully, this weekend things will work out. Things will be good. It'll make a change in him. Get him. Get him to realize the people out here that love him, the people out here that want to see him succeed and be a better man, and and once he'll realize that, things will be better. You know. I'm just trying to, trying to do what I can do. I do have, 'cause I had issues with my dad. Had issues, I have 4 kids. My kids, I have with, I have a relationship more with my youngest one, Victoria. My other 3, I don't. I try to have a relationship. It's a complicated situation. I was married, like I said, and me and their mom, marriage broke up, and she left, and she took the kids, and she cut off all communication and stuff like that. And she didn't allow me to be in the kids' life, didn't allow me to be a father, or nothing like that. So and like 13 years later, and I finally get back in touch with them, and I tried to my best, try to maybe my mistake, try to thought that, just trying to make up. You can't make up for lost time. You can't make up for that. It's gone, time is gone. Ain't nobody here Dr. Strange with the damn time stone, so they can't go backwards. So, the time is gone. So, it's trying to give them money, give them, stuff like that. So, and still, I thought I was going to get in return just, open communication, just any kind of communication, more than just, daddy, can I have something? Daddy, can I get this? Daddy, you just want to hear stuff like, Daddy, how are you doing? Daddy, how you doing today? How you feeling today? You know, are you hurting today? Stuff like that. Just all that. That stuff like that is priceless. I don't care about that money. I don't care about money. I don't care about children paying me back. Just check up on daddy from time to time. That's all I want. That's it. No, you don't gotta give me nothing. You owe me nothing. You don't owe me anything. Just it would be nice, but you can't make people do anything. You can do is just hope for the best, and hope for it. And maybe one day it come around, and if not, I still gonna live my life, still gonna, move forward, still gonna try to, be the best person I can be, regardless. And hopefully they'll see that one day, and hopefully one day, like I said, my dream is one day to have all my kids in the same room as me. Hopefully they can be down here in Texas, but hopefully that could be, but next week we'll see. We will see. You know, I had Victoria down here in Texas with me for a little while, and and she had a hard time in her ninth grade year and in Clinton, so I brought her down here to Texas. We had a good time, but she came during a little bit of turmoil, when my other marriage was falling apart. So she sort of was in, sort of caught some strays, caught some shrapnel, you know, and sort of thought it was her to blame that things was happening, but it wasn't, and sort of took it a little hard. And I had to reassure her that it wasn't her, and give her a hug and tell her that I love her, and I'm glad she was here and stuff. But I knew she missed her friends and wanted to be home. So as hard as it was, I had to let her go back home. Once she got through ninth grade, I'm glad I was able to get her through ninth grade because that was the problem with her. She was one of the kids that got affected by COVID. When she was doing good. Before that, she was playing basketball, she was playing softball. She was the lead on a basketball team. I didn't get a chance to see her play a lot because she was playing. I was driving trucks then, but I remember one of the last times I got to see her play. You know, she had she had the game a couple games before she had hit like 2 3 pointers. And that was a big deal for her. She was like the leading scorer on her team and everything. So now they come to the game, and she had, she was shooting hard as she can. She shot about 4 times. She missed about 4 times. You know, and then after that, she finally made one. And then she ended up doing good that game and everything. I they should have another 3-8, but after that, this really shocked me when she said this. After she made the three, I gave her, the news at home and stuff, and she was like, Dad, I made that three for Kobe because this was like not right after, but maybe a couple of weeks after Kobe Bryant when he had tragically his life, prematurely and tragically came to an end. You know, she was, I didn't think that, I didn't think that she was into that, but that shocked the mess out of me when she did that. So, she did that, and she had a good game. I thought things was gonna be good, but then that like, you know, the COVID hit. COVID came, and the world stopped. Except for truck driving, we were good, but the world stopped during COVID. And, all of a sudden her, fun playing basketball and, softball and stuff, that was cut off. And she was, just like all the other millions of kids around this country, she was relegated to being in a room. Being in a room all day and learning from a computer and stuff like that. And that really affected her mentally, and it causes her to just quit. She quit sports. She quits doing everything whenever she got back to school. You could tell she was having a hard time mentally and stuff. So, I had to when, it got to a point where I had to step in and I had to, ask her did she want to stay with me, and she can't say yes. So, brought her to Texas, and got her in school and stuff, and got her good. Even though I was going through some personal drama, I was still able to, get her in school, get her through her freshman year, and get her back home. She wanted to go back home to her friends, to her mom and stuff, because that was she was a custodial parent. She's always good with her mom. So, out of respect, I ain't try to fight for it and nothing like that, man. Because I seen, I tried to ask her did she want to stay, and she started crying and started not fussing but crying and pleading that she wanted to go home. So, then I'm like, I'm not gonna be that father to try to do that to her. She wants to go home, I let her go home. you know, even though it hurt, but I still, as a parent, sometimes you have to do the hard stuff. It ain't always easy and stuff. Sometimes you got to make the hard decisions. For the betterment of her, I, let her go back home. And just that's what you have to do sometimes. Sacrifices. You have to make sacrifices in life sometimes. That's what happens. You know, but throughout my time, I was grateful that I was able to stay. I still kept on. I know I was off and on driving trucks over the road, getting on and off the road and stuff the last couple of years. So I was able to get with this company, and I was able to go back over the road one more time. And the company was able to get me. It would end up being a bad company. I'm going through something with them legally right now because they wasn't. They held my $2,000 check from me. That's a whole other story. I don't want to talk about that, but yeah, they just said I ain't paying you. But they what they did was they was able to get me home to see my daughter graduate, walk across the stage from when she graduated from high school, and I was very, very, very grateful for that because I was nervous that I wasn't going to be able to do it, and I was able to do it. I was able to share that moment with my lovely wife, and we had a great time. And I was able to introduce her to her, and everything went good. Everything was good. That was a beautiful moment. I'm always grateful for them for that. Even though they took my bread, I'm grateful for them for that. Just like Big Boy said, I was there for the first day of school and graduation. So I wasn't able to. I was there, for my other three children. I was there for Elijah when he was in kindergarten. I was there for a little bit before they left. And I coached his soccer team. I coached his soccer team when I was, involved in Samira played soccer. Trinity was young. I don't think she played soccer yet. No, I think she didn't play soccer. So it was a crazy thing that I was, this after we were separated. We was out in the park and the kids had soccer. All three of them were playing soccer. So I was going in between three soccer games at one time, just spending time with all three of them at one time, right? This older white man, this is probably about in the mid, like 2000 and it's probably about 2006, 2005, somewhere, 2005, 2006. So I was, to do that, going playing with, spending time with Elijah while he was playing, and holding Trinity, and playing with Samira, and then Trinity was playing, and I was doing all that, going through all that. And that was, like I said, this older white man was watching. He was seeing me doing all that, and at the very end of it, he was looking at me and said, "I don't know you, but you are one great father." And I was like, and I know I told him thank you, and I was very appreciative and stuff, and shook his hand and stuff, and all like that. Just a stranger come and tell me this is crazy. When it's, crazy. A couple months later, she took the kids, and I never seen them again for 12 years. Funny how life works, right? But what don't kill you make you stronger. So I could have folded. I could have, folded and hated the world and all that stuff. And I decided it hurt. I ain't gonna lie, it hurt. It still hurt. It hurt. I cried. I lost my kids. Cried over them, everything. But still I recovered. And so I had Victoria. I was able to, concentrate my anger. I had anger, concentrate my grief and everything towards her, and turn it into something positive. And just raise her to be a, positive young woman. I think I did a good job. I think I did my part. I think her mom did her part, and I think we had, a really, beautiful, intelligent young daughter. Young lady. Like I said, she graduated last year. She did a good job. Like I said, she had her struggles, but that COVID and stuff affected her, but she recovered, and she just, showed how strong she was, what kind of character she got. So I can be proud. Maybe one day, like I said, I got a grandson. My son Elijah had a child. His name is Kaiser. I met him a couple of times when he was younger. So beautiful young man. Beautiful young little baby, beautiful young man. I've seen pictures of him. I've seen videos of him and stuff, and he looks just like his father, just like his old man. He's just like a, well, he's a good kid though. That's what I say. He's a good kid, and I'm glad. You know, glad my genes are strong. But yes, I just I like I feel like in life sometimes I got I love being a father. In life I feel like I got cheated out of being a father. You know, and I feel like I had a lot of energy to give that I wasn't able to give it. So I able to give what I can to Victoria. Like I said, when I talk to my kids now, I try to talk to them a little bit whenever I can. I haven't talked to them in a while, so everybody living their lives. It's a hectic world out here. People got things to do. People, trying to make a living, trying to, you know, find their purpose in life, find their footing in this world. And I understand that. So we all trying to do that. It never stops. For real. For real. But yeah, like I said, I hope that what I say sometimes, be able to help somebody, be able to guide somebody in the right direction, be able to inspire somebody, if I can do that, I would like to do that. I like to help out. I love helping out. I love helping people, you know. And I want to have a few dollars, people don't carry cash no more. And every time when I carry cash on a few dollars, if I have a few dollars in my pocket, I try to give what I can, I give a homeless person $1, so I did one today, it's a little, some like came to me. I was going to CBS. You know, the lady came up there, asked her for some money, gave her $1. Give what I can. We can't take this money with us. Whatever I got, if I can, I can, because I know what it's like to struggle. I ain't trying to change the world, but if I can help with who I can help, feel like we all here to help each other. You give what you can give. You help what you can. You help out where you can help out. You know. Some people can give more than others. You don't judge people by the amount you give. Judge them by the fact that you are giving. 'Cause it's about the act. It's not about like how much money we give. Cause that don't mean nothing. You give somebody give you $1 million, a billionaire giving $1 million is like me giving a penny. They don't make his generation. Don't make his generosity more or more. You know more sacred or more, thoughtful, whatever, because he had money. Now the guy that didn't have that gave his last $5 to somebody that didn't have no money to eat with, that is the person that right there is what's giving. That's a gift. You know, so it's late at night, not really too late. It's 10 o'clock here, so at Eastern time, from the east, so peeps when it's probably 11 o'clock, so I'm pretty sure everybody is Thursday, so they're probably knocked out. I'm just trying to give people what they want, trying to, show you that I'm here for you, trying to, help you out, just trying to, know, give my perspective on things, see if I can, help people, make a decision on something or whatever, feel like, feel like I have intelligence that, can give people insight on stuff. You saying I'm a know-it-all? I know I'm not a know-it-all. I don't know nothing. I know a little something. So maybe I can learn from y'all. Maybe y'all can teach me something. Each one teach one. Then we go reach one. Just don't give a speech to one. Yeah. Like I said, I was like, like doing this. I'm getting used to it every time. I'm getting better every time. I'm getting more used to it. I'm getting more comfortable with it. You know. I'm able to, and the people that I get feedback from, send them the videos, trying, like I said, this is grassroots. I'm starting out with nothing. I'm not starting out with no big production company, no, all this, nothing. I'm starting out with just, starting from the bottom, starting here, and just seeing where we're going. This is authentic. This is real. This is nothing made up. I don't have a producer or nothing like that. I produce myself, independent right now. That's all. I'm trying to, I ain't trying to all the bells and whistles right now. I'm just being authentic, and like I said, see where we go from there. I want to grow, and I want y'all to grow with me. As I grow, and I will be, internally, I will be grateful. And I'll look out for the people who look out for the people who are grateful, people who are there, my day ones. You know what time it is. Things come up, we gonna come up. You know, and one thing I wanted to discuss this here, man, right here. That was I seen it. People are mad now. A certain section of the population is mad because of the comedian Drewski, who made a skit about the wife of Eric, Eric Kirk, Erica Kirk, yeah, Erica Kirk, and her husband was Charlie Kirk. He's the one that got shot. Erica Kirk. He was making a skit about her, and it was funny to me. It's like I was laughing the whole time. It was spot on. This man is very gifted in the skit business, and he's very funny. People all in the uproar. He didn't tell no lie. He's telling you how people are sitting up here on TV acting. He put a mirror to your face. You just don't like the reflection that's coming back at you. Don't get mad at that. Don't get mad at the messenger. Don't get mad at the player. Get mad at the. Don't hate the player. Hate the game. You know. He didn't make y'all act like this. He just showing y'all how y'all act. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Get mad all you want. So what? I like it. I Drewski get all the love here and keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing another one. Damn. Shit. It so happened you needed me. I have you do a skit. I don't care. It's funny to me. I don't care. It's very funny to me. I like the one about the passes. That was spot on, very spot on. And I do not want to get it. That'd be a whole nother subject. I do not want to talk about passes right now and all this because that's for another subject. Because I have very strong feelings about that. I feel like they just. I think they're one of the reasons for the slow economic growth in the black community. They're one of the factors that's held black people down. They're one of the factors that held black people down with that mentality. Using them, using black people, using us. You know. But that's a whole nother story. I don't want to talk about that right now. Because I just don't feel like going there right now. But like talking about, I was like I guess it started the night was about the kids, talking about my children, talking about, father and stuff. I love being a father. I felt like some of that stuff got taken away from me, but I'm still able to help when I can. I still help. I see kids around, I help kids out. A few kids in my neighborhood, they come into I got a little punching bag in my garage, and I got some weights in there because I, lift weights at home too, as well as go to the gym. So little kids come by and they lift weights and stuff. Love punch the bag and stuff. Keep them out of here doing mischievous stuff. Sit up here and do some exercise. You know, but do this and get tired. You be too tired to get in trouble. Go somewhere and go to sleep. Get something to eat and go to sleep somewhere. Go to school next day. Keep kids busy. They keep them out of trouble. Keep them busy. Keep them busy. Keep them off that phone. Keep them out of trouble. Keep them doing something. Keep them using. Teach them how to use their hands. other than doing this or tapping the phone or something. Teach them how to use their hand. Teach them a skill. It's okay. You know, teach them how to cook. You know, teach them how to damn sew. Teach them how to cut grass. Teach them how to be self sufficient. Teach them how to do stuff so they don't have to pay nobody else to do it. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with that. hmm And I got to I was saying earlier, watching the tournament a little bit, and I get a chance to watch. I don't get to watch basketball like I used to, but I was driving trucks. So now I'm trying to get back into it. Being a truck driver, you don't get a chance to see. Especially me, I was on that grind. I ain't got time sitting there watching basketball game. I might listen to it on Sirius XM, but I never got a chance to watch anything like that. Now I'm getting a chance to watch it a little bit more. Like I said, I'm a diehard Tar Heel fan. Okay. I know we struggling trying to find a coach and all this stuff, but I'm still a diehard Tar Heel fan. Since '82, I've been down with them, and I always will be down with them. I love them. That's my only team. Always. But yeah, been watching a little bit. I hate Duke too. I hate Duke. But I like some of the Duke players. I like Grant Hill. I like Johnny Dawkins. I like Johnny Dawkins. He's pretty good. There was a guy that was from Fayetteville, North Carolina. I think his name was Henderson. No, not Phil Henderson. No, not Phil Henderson. I'm sorry. Robert Bricky. I remember him. Going back in the days for y'all, the young Duke fans, they're going to know these young fans. Robert Bricky, that's when they had Danny Ferry. People talking about, I like, Christian Laettner was okay. It was fun to watch him. I didn't have the hate for him the way everybody else had hate for him. I thought he was a good player. I actually seen him once when they had a basketball camp down in Clinton, North Carolina, and that boy's tall. He was a big boy. Anyway, he was a big boy. But yeah, he's all right. Like when we beat them, they beat us, they had success. He did his thing, he did his thing. But I still don't like Duke. Okay. I like Jay Williams. He was okay. I like Jay Williams. He was pretty good. I like Shane Battier was a good player. I like um, you know, that's the name for everybody, whatever. But I'm glad I watch it a little bit, trying to get back into it. Like I said, the product is better now because it comes at you know I think teams like North Carolina, the Blue Bloods, they say North Carolina, Kentucky, UCLA, Indiana, and North Carolina, Duke, UCLA. The Blue Bloods are sort of not all of them, but they sort of struggle a little bit now because even the playing field is evening out now because they're bread. They're giving the kid their bread they deserve. They should have been getting paid. All these players, all these coaches and administrators, and all these people getting rich off these players, and the players can't even, get a damn $10 to get a damn Subway sandwich or something, and they'll be in violation. They don't ran this system all these years where, all these poor states, like these sort of quote unquote red states, they had these colleges, these big college teams and stuff. It's a shame that the highest paid player, the highest paid state employee will be a college football coach, man. That don't, people out here struggling or something, man. But highest paid players, the highest paid person in the state government is the college football coach, man. He's doing nothing to improve the life of the everyday people, but he's the highest paid player. I mean, how long do you think they're going to survive on a system like that? With people sitting here, schools making millions, coaches making millions, but these players up here can't do nothing. The players here can't, they say living poor. And they talking about the value of education. The value of education, and that's right, the value of education. But look, these players sitting up here, bringing out TV ratings and millions of dollars and stuff like that, and y'all just like, so. I mean, how long you think a system like that was going to last? And now, the NIL has come and these players getting that bread, and they don't like the fact that these young minorities or controlling their own, movement, controlling. They're taking the power away from these coaches. These coaches can't control these players, especially the high school coaches, and that's the problem. I mean, they control. That's why I'm glad they got social media and phones and stuff like that, where these kids can take control of their recruitment and stuff because these coaches have too much control over these kids and can dictate where these kids will go and who you talk to them and stuff. I'm glad all that stuff is gone. Now they say they're trying to regulate. They want to regulate NIL because they don't want these people to get all this money. They don't want these little young African American kids to get this money. Why? Why? Why can't they get this money? Everybody else getting that money. Why can't they get this money? Why must the college athlete, why must the college football and the college basketball player, why must there be a cap or anything on how much money they get paid? If a young person was making an album or a young person was like some sort of phenom or stuff like that and they went pro, they wouldn't be trying to put a cap on how much they get paid. They say get paid as much as you want, as much as you can. But these sports, football and basketball, they want to put a cap on it, saying, yeah, they can't, they can give them money, but just a little bit. And then the dumbest thing, Trump talking about trying to, what he gonna do? I mean, trying to executive order for do what? They ain't gonna do nothing. You shouldn't have all these people talking having a summit, man. How all these people talking about trying to fix college football. All these people we had up here had nothing to do with the current college football. You have old coaches. You have people like, damn, Tiger Woods. What the hell Tiger Woods know about college football? This man was trained to be a Navy SEAL when he wasn't playing golf. He wasn't trained to be no damn middle linebacker or no fucking strong safety. Why you had them up here talking about what? Nothing. Man, all this stuff is stupid, man. Just let these kids play, man. Let these kids get this money. Let these kids get this bread. Y'all get that bread. Let them kids get that bread. Let them take care of their family. Let them buy their mom, their pops a damn house. Buy their little brother, sister a car or something. Let them do that. Leave them alone. Let them play. You know? But, I didn't even get up and get preachy tonight. I'm sorry. I apologize. But hey, look, that's how we do sometimes. That passion kick in, something I feel passionate about. That's how we going to discuss it. We're going to get real like that. That's how we're going to do it. Every day all day. But not every day all day, because I'm going to be off. Like I said, I'm going to the Valley this weekend. So I'll be off tomorrow. And like I said, I'm trying to do this to you. I'm trying to have this for you like Monday through Friday. So I'll be back Monday, with this brand new phone. This flavor in the air. No Diddy. I don't even talk about him. Oh my God, I don't even talk about him. That's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother story. I don't want to go there. When I go there, it's gonna be. I feel like I would go there. I don't care. I feel like he had something to do with it. I feel like no, I ain't gonna do it. I feel like he had something to do with him. Yeah. I feel like he had something to do with Notorious Big getting killed. And I'll tell you why real quick. I'll tell you my this is just my opinion. I don't have no facts, I don't have no evidence, I don't have nothing. This is my opinion. I'm just seeing the way people act and stuff during that time. You know, like, you know, we all know, he was signed with, Big, he signed Big, signed with Bad Boy and everything. He dropped, Ready to Die. After that, he had his crew, he had his boys from neighborhood, did the Junior Mafia, So he did that, he did. I think they had a record company with, Lance Rivera, Lance Rivera. The name of the record company was NDS Records, and he did, the Junior Mafia and stuff, and Big was successful. Puff found seeing that, Big was a force, other than a rapper that, he got mogul written on him. So, and Big, I felt like, Puff was jealous of it. Because as long as Big was alive, I felt like Puff felt like he was going to be a sidekick. He was going to be like Too Big MC. He was going to be like Freaky Ty. He gonna be like Spliff Star. That's what he was gonna be like. He didn't want to be like that because he felt like, man, I made this record company. I'm not gonna let some little ghetto punk take away my dad, take the shine from me. This is my stuff. That, as we have grown to see, he has pride, so that pride was kicking in. So, all right, here's what I'm saying with this. You know, first of all, the fact that you had this man, you knew, all this stuff that went down with Tupac, you knew that he was, going to be in the middle of stuff. People, even though wrong or right, people going to be associating that with him, and they might be trying to get to him, like, look, Pop goes, or right, and then right now he can walk around if Pop is gone. So you knew there were people out there like that. So why? First of all, you're gonna have that man in Los Angeles, knowing that was ground zero for West Coast music. Period. The beat, East West Coast, New York, LA. So you knew you had him there. That's one thing. Big went regardless of his mom begging him not to go. He went anyway. So that, all right. You have a party for him. Okay, it's cool. He has an album coming out. He has Life After Death coming out, and Lil C said they played Hypnotized 3 or 4 times that night. So it was a big night for him. That's your man. You was on TV saying, I love him. He's my brother. I love him to death. Yeah, I love him like a brother. Everybody seeing you out here doing this, saying that he's my brother and all this stuff. Okay, if that was your brother and he had a big night like that, when it was time to go, Little C was in the truck with my man. They like his boys. Just like, they boys. He's in the truck with him. If Big was like a brother to you, why were you in the truck with him? Why was you in the truck behind him? If this is supposed to be one of the biggest, this your money maker right here. This your top artist. This the man. Then why are you in the truck behind him? Why are you not in the truck with him? Why didn't you sit there with him? Why ain't that your man? If I'm hanging out with my mans, I'm saying he my brother. Wherever I go, he go. We riding together. We doing everything together. That's my man the way it is, Because all that shit was a front. All this stuff was a front, man. I always felt that way about him before all this other controversy stuff like that. Like I said, and I don't condone what, because he ended doing that documentary. I wouldn't have did it because I felt like, I'm not sitting here doing nobody else's work. Yes, he did some. Yes, he's foul. He did some foul stuff, but it ain't for me and us to sit up here and kick a man while he's down. Why you gonna kick a man while he's down for man? Just to get, just for your own personal lift yourself up, man. It's just like, wow, you don't have to. Why do you have to do that for? Wow. We all know the man was up to some sketchy stuff. We all knew about that. He done went to court. He done went. We don't need no. We don't need our own to sit up here and just try to bring everything down, man. He's in jail. He's serving his time. Let this man, let the man serve his time and everything. He's paying his price for the things for the transgression in his life. He's paying the price for it. One way or another, he's paying the price for him. His empire is falling. He's fell from grace, and he's paying for what he's done to him, to other people, other victims, and his artists and stuff. He's paying for that. So let the man pay for his crime. You gotta sit there and put your foot on his head while he's underwater. I wouldn't do that. I'm not that type of person. But I can't speak for other people. I ain't 50 Cent. I ain't 50 Bass. That's a nickname they gave to me. Another, I got like a few nicknames. Growing up, and I had a few of them. Bobby. He call me Bobby Hill. Of course, he call me B Hill. That's simple. B Hill. They call me Big Bobby Bob, the big damn Bobby Bob, Bobby Hill, whatever. Then in high school, they used to back when in the '90s, that's when Tommy Hilfiger came out. Not come out, but that's when he got popular. He became real popular, so they started calling me Hilfiger, Bobby Hilfiger. Every time I go, what up, Hilfiger? They call me that. And the fact I wore it a little bit, that sort of added to it. Then, let's see, another nickname they call whenever the RZA of the Wu-Tang Clan came out with his album, he called it Bobby Steele. So then they started calling me Bobby Steele. and he had a damn song up there in the very beginning of it. Oh my God, that was the craziest thing. That's when I was at Federal State. Every time, how the song goes, the chorus of the song goes, he would spell out his name. He would go BOBBYBIGITAL. So every time I walk in a room somewhere, I don't care. I walk in the damn cab, I walk in a damn classroom, I walk in the dorm somewhere, anywhere in a student center, you'll see somebody. Here's my background. BOBBY. That was great. Oh, that was funny. That was funny. That was good times. I talk about that. Maybe shout out to my, all my people I have. I can't talk. I can't say everybody because I don't remember every single person. Because when you get old, this computer only got so much memory, man. For me to add new memory, I had to delete some files back here, so I don't I don't remember some people. It's just, but I remember a few. I remember faces. I remember more faces than names and stuff. I didn't get a shout. I remember I get one shout out though. I talked to him. I ain't talked to him. I give him a shout out message today. Give a shout out all the way from Brazil. Give a shout out to my man Prince William Brown. Do your thing, brother. Do your thing. Y'all been a smooth brother back in college. You doing your thing now. You got love here. I got you. I got you. Shout out to my cousin too. Darius Hughes. Big Smooth. He's doing his thing down there in Miami. He's my cousin, my second cousin. We didn't grow up together and stuff because our family dynamic it happened like that. We were the second cousin, but still, even though we didn't grow up together, I still feel that connection with him. He played. He was a good football player. I think he had like 2 Gs his senior year, 2,000 yards. He went to Georgia State and transferred to the U, Miami. And I had the opportunity to watch him play. Watch him, play against Duke one time. He came to North Carolina and watched him. I was, grateful to see that my fam from North Carolina, we went and watched him play. Had a good time. Got a chance to take a picture with him and stuff. So good guy. Good guy. He just became a father, a little while. Not a little while ago. His little boy getting, a few months old now. Little young king. He seemed like he's been a good father. He loves his child. You see him. He shows him off. He's proud of him. Beautiful young man. He's doing his thing down there. Businessman. He's doing his little rap thing. He's got his businesses going down there. I like the fact that he's doing that youth football with the Harlem Wolves, and you see him, I see him, on social media, Big Smooth 26. You see the Harlem Wolves, he's doing this thing with that. I like to give a shout out to him, man. He's my fam doing this thing. I just wanted to show love to him, saying that I see you. You have, your fam see you, brother. With that being said, I'd like to thank y'all for being here with me tonight. Like I said, I just wanted to give y'all something. I said I will give y'all something. I've been busy today, but I give y'all my time, been able to, vibe with y'all tonight, and I hope hope y'all enjoy this. I'll bring you, be back Monday. We can sit and talk and chat. I get feedback, listen to people. Tell me what I can do better, what I need to do better, what I need to do less of, what I need to do more of. I take all criticism. It don't matter. I take constructive criticism. So students, like I said, we in this now. We in this. I'm in this. I'm all in this now, and this is how we gonna do this. So y'all take care of yourself tonight. I see y'all around. And I'm gonna talk to you tomorrow. So y'all have a good weekend. Watch some basketball. Just party. Don't party too hard. Don't drink and drive. Don't be out here acting all crazy. Make it home to your kids. Make it home to your family. Make it through the weekend. I love all of y'all. And I'll see y'all later.